Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 190, and I'm Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry and Instagram. Today's Thursday, February 11th, and it is quite cold outside here today. We've got negative wind chill factors going on out there, but it's sunny. It's pretty bright out, so I'll take that. And I have a cold, so if I sound funny, that's why. Although, please know that I sound way better than I did earlier this week because I was like death warmed over on Monday and Tuesday. Finally went to the doctor, got an antibiotic, because it's great when your doctor walks in and she's like, wow, you sound horrible. Let me give you antibiotics. It's like, thank you. That was easy. So anyway, I am on the upswing, but I'm still every once in a while having these coughing fits and needing to blow my nose. So if I pause and splice things together occasionally, you'll know why, because I suddenly needed to deal with something. So I can't make any promises that that won't happen a few times. But I'm drinking coffee in an effort to try to keep things moving and hydrated and everything. Okay, thank you for coming and watching today. If you're new, hello, thanks for being here. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. This should be a fairly move it along kind of show because I don't have a lot to talk about today other than what I'm knitting and a little bit of other things. But I'm going to just try to get through this quickly. I've actually started this about 3 times now and had to restart. So I would like to get this done before my first big coughing fit happens, because the more I talk, the more coughing wants to start. But anyway, I wanted to say hello to Terry from Texas because she introduced herself on the 90% Knitting board in the welcome thread. So welcome, Terry. Glad to have you here. Okay, and welcome to anybody else who's new also that has not introduced themselves on the board, but please feel free to do so because I would love to read your intro if you'd like to write one. Okay, let's talk about knitting. I have a finished object to show you. I finished the bright and sparkly rainbow socks that I knit from the Knitting Color sock blank, and I absolutely love how these turned out. The sparkly yarn makes me so happy. These colors make me happy, and I love how the heels turned out. Basically, this was the second sock, and no. This was the first sock. And I used the little ball of blue that I had. The first segment of the sock blank had a really wide swath of blue, and I knew I didn't want to use that whole segment of blue because the whole first half of my sock would have been blue, and I didn't want that. So I wound off about half of that ball, and that was enough to do the heel. So that worked out really, really well. And on the second sock, I just picked up from where I left off at the toe with this orangey red and started knitting the heel from that. So I love how the colors played out with the heels. They contrast nicely. These are just the happiest socks, you know, and I haven't worn them yet. I wanted to show them to you when they were nice and fresh and unworn. So now I get to put them in my drawer and wear them soon. So yay. It's just my plain vanilla sock, a little bit of 1x1 ribbing at the top, plain vanilla sock tube, and then I put in a true afterthought heel on each sock. That's it. Really easy. They took way longer than they should have just because I hadn't worked on them in a while. They had been my carry around in movie socks for a while, but then I quit going to movies as much as I had been, so they weren't getting worked on, but I'm really glad to have them done. So anyway, the next project, which is almost a finished object, is my rib cable scarf that I showed you last week that I had started. It's by Thea Coleman, and I'm knitting this as for the SSK Thea Coleman knit along that's going on now through the end of March. This is one of her free patterns, and I'm modifying it to turn it into a cowl. So I cast on, like I showed you last week, I cast on with a provisional cast on, and then I knit my entire ball of yarn. I've got just a tiny little bit left over. I didn't have enough left to do the a whole nother cable repeat, so that's why I stopped. Yeah, that's all I've got left. So anyway, once I block this, I need to block it first. I know it's a rib and it's probably not going to stay blocked out wide, but I want to get a little bit of width out of it if I can. So I'm really going to stretch it as I block it. But I'm going to block it, and then I will graft the two ends together and have a cowl. And that will be my knit along contribution for the Thea Coleman knit along. I had been thinking that maybe I would do another item of hers, but I'll be honest with you, I love her patterns. They're very pretty, and I was thinking of doing a hat, but my heart just isn't in that because I've got a bunch of other hats that I really, really want to be knitting that aren't her hats, and I already have the patterns for them, so I really don't want to buy any more patterns right now. I love her sweater patterns, but I am not in a sweater frame of mind, so this may actually be my only Thea Coleman that I do. I don't know. We'll see. I could change my mind later on because I've got through the end of March, so that's plenty of time if I do decide to do a hat. I could always whip one out. But for right now, I'm happy to have gotten one knit along project almost done. By the next time I record, hopefully that will be finished. I'm such a procrastinator when it comes to blocking, though. So I have to actually move that along because that would be really sad if this sits here until like the last week of March and then I have to hurry up and block it and graft it just to get it in for the knit along. That would be horrible. It would be totally like me to do that, but I'm going to try to avoid that. So anyway, let's move on. I have socks, other socks that I worked on this week. I have everything stuffed in this bag. This is one of my awesome Bags by Awesome Granny bags. And I just got to show you this because I love her bags. This is an awesome bag. Literally, a Bags by Awesome Granny awesome bag. I can't remember if this is one of her large bags or her medium bags. I want to say it's a large bag, maybe. I'm sorry. I should know this stuff. But anyway, it is big enough. I've got 3 projects stuffed in here. And 2 of them are in other project bags. And I have a book. So I've got this project bag, and I've got this project bag, and then I've got a whole other project plus this book in here. So they are very, very roomy bags and hold up very well, and I love them. So anyway, all right, let's start with this one. So I just dropped something, but I'll get back to it. Okay, this is the Pheasant Sock that I'm working on, and this is out of the West Yorkshire Spinners 4-ply in the Pheasant colorway. When you saw it last week, I had done the heel flap, and I believe I had done the heel turn. So since you saw it last, I picked up the gusset stitches, and I knit all of the gusset decreases, and I'm now just on the foot. And I think this is, I've measured it, it's maybe about 5.5 inches. So I've got about another 4 inches to go, including the toe, and then it'll be done. See, that's the thing I love about doing heel flap heels. And I know there's other heels that you knit as you go along, but this is my standard, my go-to. That once you're done knitting the sock, it already has the heel and it's done. I love that. So anyway, this is what the yarn looks like. And this one, kind of squished, isn't it? This is what the yarn looks like in the ball. I love these colors. It's so pretty. And the little mini stripes are turning out really cool. I'm knitting this on US 1s because I've determined that I like US 1s better than US 1.5s for socks. Although I'll tell you what, for these, the 1.5s actually worked out pretty well because I think because of the nubbliness of the yarn coming out of the sock blank, the 1.5 worked pretty well. Now, I don't know what it'll be like once I soak those, like after I've worn them and I wash them, if the fabric's going to open up a lot. I don't know. But I think it would have felt really tight knitting those on 1s because of that yarn. But whatever. I'm liking the 1s better. I only have the 1 set of US 1s though, so I can only knit 1 pair of socks at a time on 1s. Although I have ordered some more another pair of US 1s in a different type of needle that I've never used before, but they're not here yet. So whenever they get here, I will kind of do a little talk about them in a review. So anyway, that's another project that I worked on. Then I also did some work on Alyssa's Nyan Cat socks. These are the socks I'm knitting for my daughter's one roommate that she requested. So I think I had like the first color repeat done, so I've done a second color repeat mostly. These aren't getting the bulk of my attention right now because I'm really enjoying the pheasant socks and I wanted to get those sparkly socks done. But they're coming along, so they're just sort of a, you know, every once in a while I stop and I knit a few rounds on this. But that's my Nyan Cat colorway in the bedazzled base, and it'll have the contrasting heels and toes in the sparkly navy colored yarn. So anyway, and that's just my plain vanilla sock too, and that'll have an afterthought heel. See, this is going really quickly today. The other thing I did work on this week was my garter bias wrap, for lack of a better term. It's not really a pattern, it's just something I'm making up as I go along. But this is how big it is now. So if you remember the last time I showed it to you, it goes this way. All right, so I'm using 8 different yarns, which I did not bring those all in because I showed those to you several podcasts ago, and they're in my project page if you want to know what they are. But I've got 8 different like natural colored yarns, neutral colored yarns, and I'm doing 2 garter ribs. You can see 2 garter ridges of each color and then repeating them in the same order. And I did that the first time, and then I did it the second time, and then the third time I had a brain fart and I only did 1 garter ridge, which was where you saw it last time. And I just didn't really work on it after that until the other day. I pulled it out and I did all of the next 7, you know, I did the 7 colors again. But now this is going to be my width, and it's at 20 inches. So I don't want to make it any higher. I need to work out this way. So when I, oh crap, I just pulled the needle off of all these stitches. Hang on a second. Let me put my needles back on, or my stitches back on the needle. There we go. No harm. So I have to start working outward. And I was, again, having like this brain issue. And I'm going to blame it on my cold, even though it's not my cold, it's just my brain. You know, I knew I couldn't just knit straight from this point because then I would end up with a point. Okay, and that's not what I want. So I need to be working out this way. But to do that, I still have, I'm not increasing stitch count anymore, but I still have to do the increase and a decrease to even that out in order to keep it slanting, right? So my hunch, and I've been talking to different people about this, and everybody has a different theory, and we're all like, I don't know. And I've even looked at other patterns that are written on the bias, but they're just different enough that I'm not getting a good sense of what I need to do. So maybe you guys will have some insights. What I'm going to do is I'm going to increase on the right side. I mean, the right side and wrong side is really nothing on this because it's the same on both sides. But so the first side, I'm going to increase here, and then at the end of the row, I will do a knit 2 together. Then when I flip it over, I'm going to do that same thing. Increase here, knit 2 together at the end of the row. Because that way, I won't be increasing stitches, but I will still be keeping it on the bias, I think. Does that make sense? Because if I don't increase or decrease, it's just going to knit out straight. But if I only do it on one side, which is what somebody suggested, if I keep doing an increase here and decreasing here, it's going to end up going this way, I think. You know what I mean? It's going to kind of curve. And that doesn't seem right. I don't know. I'm actually at a lot. I feel like I'm just going to have to wing it and go in and do it and see what happens. I just know I need to keep everything even, but not have one edge end up shorter than the other, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But if you have any ideas on how this would best work, I have such a hard time visualizing this kind of architectural stuff when it comes to knitting because this is not my strong suit. I know what stitches do and I know how they affect knitting, but I have a hard time putting that together in what it'll look like in the actual garment or the item that I'm knitting. So that's my plan. I'm going to knit or increase 1 at the beginning and decrease 1 at the end of each row on both sides in an effort to keep it going slanty on the bias as I go across. You know, the one pattern that keep thinking about is Grandma's favorite dishcloth, because it kind of does this, except it doesn't have the across part. You know, you do the increase and then you do the decrease the opposite way. And that you do on each side. You're increasing at one side, and then you increase on the next side. You increase the whole way, and then you decrease on both sides as well at the beginning of each row, I think. But it's that middle section, that long section, that's throwing me off. So I don't know. But I'm open to suggestions. Okay, I think that's everything I worked on. Once again, this was not a spinning week. Between the show and then me not feeling good, it just was not a good week to spin, so I didn't. And I think that's, oh no, it's not all my projects. I actually did start another project. That would be the third project that was in here. I just didn't add it to my show notes because I just started it last night and I wrote my show notes yesterday. I started a Stephen West pattern that I told you about a while back. It is in West Knits Book 3, which I've had in my library for years now, and I was really excited to realize that I did have the pattern book that has this pattern in it, because it's the Dustland hat. So there's the picture in there. I don't want to show you too much because this has the actual instructions on this page, the start of it. But anyway, I really want to make this. I've seen this hat knit up, and Bonnie, who helps with yarn stuff here, she's knit a couple of them, and the one she wears all the time, I love it. Every time I see it, and I'm like, I've got to knit that hat. So I decided to knit it out of some of my wonderful, yummy stash of Cascade 220 Heathers, and I am using this pretty blue. And you know what? I did not write down. I'll have to tell you next time. I don't remember. I'll put it. Well, it'll be in my project page, although I did not start a project page for this yet, I don't think. I'll start a project page, and I will put the yarn color in it, the number of the colorway, because my tag is out in my living room, and I'm not going to run out and get that right now. But anyway, I started it last night, and it's been such a super easy knit. I'm like definitely about halfway through with it already. So I just love the textures. There's the ribbing, and then you go up a needle size and you do this first section that has these slanty kind of garter ridges, and then there's like garter ridges that also divide each section, which I think is kind of cool. I don't usually like that kind of look, but I like it in this hat. And now this is sort of like a moss stitch section, I believe. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I'm pulling it back towards me instead of putting it closer to you. I don't know how well the lighting is showing that. But anyway, so I'm done with the second section now, and I'm in the middle of doing my 2 garter ridges around, and then I will be able to start the third section. And then I think the 4th section and the 5th section are basically repeats of prior sections, sort of, but you're also working the decreases at that point as well, so it's a little bit different. It was just funny. I wasn't home last night when I started this, and I realized I needed a stitch marker for marking the beginning of my round. And I've done this before, but I don't know if I've ever showed it to you. Sometimes if I don't have a stitch marker, because, you know, I only own a million stitch markers, right? Never have one when I need it. I used to keep a couple in my wallet, and for some reason I don't have them there anymore. I probably used them. But anyway, I have an earring. These little tiny silver hoops I usually wear in the second hole in my ears. And so I just take one off and I put it on for my stitch marker, and then I take the other one off and put it in my wallet so that I don't look funny and like a pirate just walking around with one earring. But anyway, yeah, that's my makeshift stitch marker. It works really well because it's small enough. But anyway, so yeah, that has been a fun hat. And honestly, if I didn't have other stuff that I have to get done today, I would just sit and knit on this today because I really just want to get it done. I like it. I'm in a hat mood right now. Hats and socks seem to be the things that I want to be knitting the most. Anyway, okay, so that is all of my knitting. I need to take a drink. I already said I did not spin. Okay, let's see. The hand spun along is still going on. I'm trying to think. You know, I'm sorry. I'm really feeling a little spacey today because cold medicine is also involved as well as my antibiotic. Have I knit anything for the hand spun along yet? I know that's such a weird question. Like, you would know. I have to look at my project page because I'm like sitting here blanking. Like, oh, that's right. I did that crazy shawl. I'm telling you guys, I am not with it today. I'm so sorry. Yes, my red letter hand spun shawl. I did that. I think I'm blocking that out because I know I'm going to end up ripping it out because it's goofy and I'll never wear it that way. But I did do it, so it counts, I guess. Not that it matters that it counts since I'm not putting myself in for any prizes or anything. Let me ask you this. This is my question, okay? Because I made that capuchin hat, hated it, ripped it out, and made that other hat that was really cute, right? Which I showed you last week, and then I used that as a sample on my table last weekend, so it was good. Then I've knit this shawl, this V thing that I don't like, but I love the yarn and I really want to use the yarn for something I like. So I'm going to rip it out and reknit into something else eventually. But you know, I keep track of the yards that I knit every year using that knit meter thing that I've talked about before. So do you count things that you've knit completely, like finished objects, but then you've ripped them out and then you reknit them? Because technically you did knit that yardage, okay? So like whatever, 150 yards I used for that hat. I knit that whole 150 yards once, but then I ripped it out and then I knit it all again into a different hat. So do I get to count that yardage twice, do you think? It's not like there's knitting police. They're going to come and say, you can't do that, you know? But I'm trying to figure out how best to do that so that it's accurate. Because I do like things to be accurate. And then likewise, if I rip out that shawl and then I reknit it using all the yarn again in something else, do I get to claim all that yardage again as yardage that I knit this year? Because technically I did knit it. Think about it this way. Like, let's say you're stranded on a desert island and you only have one skein of yarn with you. And that's all you get to knit for an entire year. Is that one skein of yarn. Let's say it's a 400 yard fingering weight skein that you have. So you knit it into a shawl. And then because you're still stranded on the island, you have to rip it back out and knit it into something else. So you've now technically knit 800 yards even though it's the same ball of yarn. Let's say you do that like 10 times before you're rescued. Okay? So you've technically knit 4,000 yards of projects even though it's still with the same 400 yards of yarn. Where am I going with this? Like, do you get to count all 4,000 yards if you're keeping track of the yards that you've knit? I'm not talking about the yards of yarn that I've used. See, if I was keeping track of the yards of yarn that I used, I couldn't count it twice. But I think I can count these projects, each of these projects, even if I'm ripping them out, because they were projects that I legitimately knit, that yardage. Okay, I think I just answered my question. Thank you for talking that through with me. It was very helpful. Oh my goodness gracious. This is what it's like in my head a lot, even when I don't have a cold. Because I've been thinking about that issue for a while now, and I kept meaning to start a thread about it in the group, and I kept forgetting. This is my mug that I got last year when I went to Maine for Highlands on the Fly. When I went to Acadia on my way back, it's got a moose. It's a moose there, not a lion. Sometimes if you look at it fast, it sort of looks like a lion, but it's not. It's a moose. There are not lions, as far as I know, in Maine, unless there's some at a zoo somewhere. Okay, so the hand spun along that I did indeed knit that weird shawl for is still going on through the end of this month. So the 29th is like, let's see, 2.5 weeks away. So you've still got 2.5 weeks that you can knit something. You guys have been posting awesome projects. All of the guidelines for the knit along and for how to post your finished objects are all in the 2 threads. So check those out. We've had a super active chatter thread, got the regular thread for the knit along, has been really, really active. And I think, even though I did not say this from the beginning, I mean, I'm going to have prizes for the finished objects. There's going to be at least 2 winners drawn from the finished objects thread. But I think I'm also maybe going to just randomly pull a winner from the chatter thread too, because there have been so many people chattering in that. I love that. So there may be 3 prizes. We'll see. That's where I'm leaning. Let's see, what else? Oh, new things. So I had my show last weekend, Indie Knit and Spin here in Pittsburgh. It was a good show. It was a very decent day. It seemed like there were more people through than in November, although I've heard that there weren't. There were actually fewer, but maybe it was just busier where I was, or maybe, I don't know. But anyway, it was a really nice day. The show was good. I did not do a lot of buying. The girl who had the booth right next to me, she had Eucalan for sale, and I did buy a bottle of Eucalan because I was out of Eucalan, which is a wool wash if you don't know. But I did buy some fiber. There is this, hang on, the one fell all the way back here. Okay. Fiddlehead Fibers is usually at Indie Knit and Spin, and she specializes in some really interesting fibers. Like, she's got a lot that you don't usually see, like, you know, not run-of-the-mill kind of fibers. And a lot of, she'll bring undyed fiber as well as dyed fiber. But you know me, I love to collect fibers that I have not spun before. And she's always got a collection of the actual fiber that has not yet been processed. I think it's been washed, maybe, because these look fairly clean. There's some veg matter going on. I can't smell anything. I don't even know why I'm trying. Aren't these pretty? Oh my gosh. So I bought 4 different ones because they were all ones that I do not have any of. At least I don't think I do. And some of them I had actually never even heard of. This is a bag of Polypay Coopworth. Polypay, if I remember correctly, she was telling me it's got a bunch of different breeds in it to create the Polypay breed. If you have that little, what's it called? Hang on, I'm going to go grab it. It's another one of those episodes, people, where I'm just hopping up and down. The Field Guide to Fleece. She had this there. Let me look up Polypay. Polypay. Offering a nice combination of softness and body, the fleece of this breed is fine enough to require a light and somewhat experienced hand, especially in carding. The locks with their slightly tapered tips are easy to separate. The crimp is well developed and readily evident, although it may be partially disorganized. You can spin from the lock, comb, flick, or card. Combing is the best way to ensure consistent, net-free preparation. Combing. I get to play with my combs. Keep the handling very light when you spin to avoid the fibers alternately clumping or thinning out. Yeah, it's just pretty. Okay, this is what I was wanting to read to you. A breed comprising 25% each of Targhee, Dorset, Rambouillet, and Finn sheep genetics. The Polypay, whose name is intended to suggest many ways to provide return on investment, produces both excellent wool and good meat. So anyway, its origin is from Idaho. So Melissa, do you have any Polypay sheep running around your house? Or not your house, your yard, your neighborhood? I don't know. Have you seen Polypay sheep out there? Anyway, it's beautiful. I mean, it's not 100% Polypay. It's Polypay Coopworth, but it's just gorgeous. I love the brown, and the ends are bleached, you know, from the sun most likely. But it's just gorgeous and so soft. So that's one of them that I purchased. This one is Tunis, which I have heard of Tunis before. Here, allow me to read to you about Tunis. I like reading this kind of stuff, and I think it's interesting. Tunis, American Tunis. It's a conservation breed. The American Tunis was developed from Tunisian Barbary sheep, a breed that dates back to biblical times, although it's come a long way from its origins and is a separate breed. The entire population was almost destroyed during the Civil War. So, that's sad. But we've got some, and it's, again, just so nice and soft. I just love fleece. See, this still feels like it's got a good bit of lanolin in it. So, and I don't know why I keep trying to smell it. I can't smell anything right now. But it's crimpy. Can you see the crimps there on the ends with the light going through them? So pretty. I actually bought fiber from her a couple years ago, too, that I've never done anything with. And I can't even remember what it was called. I probably rebought another one. This is Bond. James Bond. No. But, oh, this is super soft too. And again, look at the crimp. Isn't it gorgeous? I love these Mort kind of colors. They're just so pretty. It's not focusing very well, but hopefully you can just get a sense of the softness and the crimpiness. And it's like a, I don't know, probably a 4 or 5 inch staple length on that. So anyway, let's read about Bond, shall we? Bond. Bonds, like Corriedales, were bred to perform well on the large swaths of grassland in Australia and New Zealand that are considered intermediate, neither lush nor arid. Okay, so the cross of Lincoln Rams on Merino ewes, specially selected for fine wool, resulted in Bond sheep, originally known as commercial Corriedales and sometimes still called Bond Corriedales. So, interesting. So they are very similar to Corriedales. Okay, and then lastly, I bought Montadale, which I had also never heard of, unless that's the one that I bought one other time. I don't think it was, though. The other one had like a hyphenated name. I don't even know where it's at, so I'm not going to hop up and try to pull it out. But again, I can see the crimp from right here. I don't know if you can. Let me see if I can pull it apart. There, look. Oh, right there. See all that crimp? Crimp makes me so happy. It's so stretchy and boingy. Boingy, that's a technical fleece term. Boing. Gorgeous. Okay. I don't know if these have been washed or not. I'm gonna have to get a hold of her and find out. They don't feel like they're totally in the grease, so they feel like they've probably been washed a little bit. They just haven't been processed beyond that. So let's see, Montadale. We'll read about Montadale. This is such an excellent little reference book. Okay, Montadale. The rare fleeces of black Montadales, useless to large-scale commercial production, are a delight for hand spinners and small-scale artisans. Well, I don't have a black one. I have a white one. This breed is mostly grown in large flocks for the meat and long-stapled, relatively soft wool, so before you prepare the fleece by hand, the tips may need careful cleaning. Once cleaned, however, the Montadale's uniform, nicely crimped locks are nice to card, comb, or spin directly with any technique you prefer. The result is a lofty wool with a crisp quality that shows textures clearly. So, they're all just beautiful. I'm really tempted to just try spinning them as they are. Like spinning them directly from the locks as opposed to carding them. I don't know. I've never done that. Well, I've done that with like mohair locks. But I haven't actually spun those per se. I've spun those into things. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to think about it. I've got all the spinning that I want to do this year of all those 6 fibers. Remember the 6 lots of fiber that I pulled out, my 6 oldest fibers. And I really want to get those done. But then there's this kind of stuff. And I've got so much natural fiber back in my fiber stash. The natural colors, which, I still haven't even finished the Shetland. I still have to do that black Shetland that I was doing earlier this year from my Shetland spinning kits. But I love the natural colors. And I love playing with new fibers, like ones that I've never played with before. that excites me. So anyway, those are all just 2 ounces each. So it's not like I'm going to get a ton of yardage from any one of them. But these are the kind of things that I think would be fun to spin a lot of them and then knit them into some sort of sampler shawl. You know, that's the fun part of doing things like that. So we'll see what I end up doing. I don't know. They'll probably just sit around and look pretty for a while in their bags. Okay, let us move on. That's pretty much everything I've got for 90% this week. You know, I wanted to make a comment about what I'm wearing. I have been wearing these fleece vests a lot. I've got a gray one and a black one, and then I've got a purple one also, but it's fuzzy. It's got like fluff, like fuzzy fleece on the outside. And I realized when I was processing the podcast a couple weeks ago, not last week because I wore something totally different, but the week before, I think I'd worn that black one with either a red or this pink colored top under it for 3 different podcasts almost right in a row. That was not intentional, and I hope you think, or I hope you realize I do own other clothes, but I'll tell you what, I bought these this year, and this has been my uniform. I wear these fleecy vests with these long sleeve jerseys so frequently because they're really nice and warm. So just as a little explanation as to why you might see me in very repetitive clothing this winter, that's part of the reason. They're just comfy. My other comment I was going to make is my background is even more cluttered than usual because look, there's my ironing board. Which is kind of funny because I hardly ever iron, despite the fact I hardly ever iron. Despite the fact that you see my iron every week sitting on my shelf right there. My ironing board, like my dryer is my iron. If I have things that are wrinkled, usually I just throw them in the dryer with a damp wash rag or something. Let them dry, steam the wrinkles out. That's my default mode of ironing. If I have to iron though, then my ironing board's out. But what I use my ironing board for, and this is your helpful hint of the day, is if you need additional horizontal workspace in your life, use your ironing board. It's great because you can adjust the height to whatever you need it to be. And this is where I pack my orders. If you ever order anything from me, see there's my tissue paper. I stand at my ironing board because all of the yarn that I sell is behind there, so you can see it all back in there. That's shop yarn, so you know if you're in the mood for yarn, there it is. And there's actually inversibles sitting on the ironing board that will be in the shop this week, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But anyway, I stand here and I can get the yarn off the shelves and fill the orders and pack it up, wrap it up in the tissue paper. My envelopes are over here on this shelf. It's so convenient. People always wonder about me though when they come to my house. My mother hates the fact that my ironing board's always up. But honestly, it's the perfect workspace because it's the right height. I don't have to bend over. I don't have to cart things anywhere. I can just work right there. So I make no apologies for it. But what I usually do when I record is I usually move it over to this side of my office so it's out of the shot of the camera. However, because I've got a whole hot mess going on over here right now because I'm still trying to reorganize things, which I know you cannot see the evidence of. It's just getting worse and worse behind me right now, but I promise it's going to get better. But there is so much stuff out right now, plus I have all the leftover show stuff that I'm going to be putting in the shop, and that's all there. There's actually no room for my ironing board over here at the moment. I guess I could have shoved it out in my hallway, but I didn't. I just didn't. So anyway, yeah, there's my ironing board. Just what you needed to know about me, right? Anyway, I don't know why I went into that, but I felt the need. It's the cold medicine. I'm just going to blame everything on that. Okay, let's see. 10%. I've been sick. Did I mention that? Seriously, I have that written down. Number 1, been sick. That's about it. It's not completely true, but it's been a big part of my week. I'm still listening to The Firebird by Susanna Kearsley. I'm still enjoying that. I'm over halfway done, and the story is getting very, very interesting. So, highly recommend that book. What else? I guess that's really about it. Like I said, it's cold. It's a bit snowy. Oh, I went to my accountant today. Did I mention that already? I can't remember. I don't think I did. I had my accountant appointment to do my taxes this morning. And for the first time ever, I've gone to my accountant and I came out like this. It was actually a good tax appointment. I mean, not that they're ever horrible. I usually know what to expect. But as it turns out, and I had the hunch that this was the case this year, I overpaid my quarterly estimated payments last year, like by a lot. And I'm not going to go into details because you don't need to know all my financials, but you know, he always, projects what they should be based on, what I did the year before. And I knew there were certain things that are going to be different from the year before to last year, that would probably affect those estimated payments. But he gave me what they were. I'm like, okay, so I paid them. And I just thought, you know what? I really, really feel like I'm making more payments than I need to, like a more higher amount. So when we got all done, I asked him, I'm like, where do you think this is going to leave me this year? I'm assuming I'm not going to owe anything. And he did his fast calculations. Have you ever seen an accountant use an adding machine? Oh my gosh, lightning fingers. Anyway, he's like, yeah, you definitely overpaid. And I think he thought I was going to be angry at him for, telling me to make these payments that I made when they were way more than what I ended up needing to. But I wasn't. I mean, I would way rather overpay than underpay and then find out I owe like a whole bunch of money. I was fine with it. And I let him, I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, apply it to this year's taxes and that'll lower my, my estimated payments for this year even more than what they're going to be lowered based on, the more accurate numbers. And as it turns out, I'm not going to have to make a first quarter estimated payment at all. You have no idea how exciting that is because the first quarter one is always just weird and tight because of the way other things fall. So I am super excited that I came out ahead on taxes this year. That's so exciting. Works for me. So anyway, that was a happy thing. Yeah, I think maybe that's it. That was probably the highlight here. It's Valentine's Day this weekend, so if you celebrate Valentine's Day, I hope you enjoy that. And if you don't celebrate Valentine's Day and maybe hate the holiday, wait till Monday and then you can buy discount chocolate because that's a nice, consolation. Is Valentine's Day an international holiday? I kind of feel like maybe it is, or maybe it's celebrated in other countries other than the United States. I'm assuming it is, because I know St. Valentine, that was Ireland, right? Or somewhere, I don't know. Maybe that was St. Patrick. St. Patrick was Ireland. I don't know where St. Valentine's from. But obviously not from the United States. So yeah, it's the cold medicine talking. Anyway, okay. Shop news. I'm going to pause here just because I do need to go get some things, but I'll be right back. If you're not sticking around for the shop news segment, that's fine. Thank you so much for watching all my babbling so far, and I'll talk to you next week. If you are going to hang out for the shop update, just hang on and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. First of all, shop news. I wanted to remind you that the club that I'm doing with Ashley from Neelys Knits, those yarns, which I showed you last week, are going to be going up in the shop tomorrow during the shop update, which will be Friday the 12th, February 12th at 3 p.m. Eastern. Okay, this is a one-time club. There's a limited number of spots. There's 16 spots available. And this is our Celtic, she named this today. It was so funny because we hadn't really come up with an official name. I think she called it the Celtic Collaboration Club, maybe. It was something like that. Because our theme was kind of St. Patrick's Day, Celtic-ish, and she did a variegated yarn, which is called Merlin's Craig, which I showed you the inspiration pictures and everything of last week. And I did a self-striping called Ardmore, which was based on a picture I took from the town of Ardmore when I was in Ireland. These are going to ship together. So if you get a spot in the club, which again, it's just a one-time thing, you will get both of these skeins of yarn sent to you, the variegated and the self-striping. And I hope you will enjoy them. So those will be going up tomorrow in the shop update. The other thing that I'm going to do, because, okay, so I had my show last weekend. And there's always show leftovers because I always dye tons more than I'm going to need. And I don't have any other shows coming up super soon. So I'm putting all of my show leftovers in the shop, but I'm going to divide it into 2 updates. Number 1, it's really overwhelming to try to put all of my show leftovers in one update because it takes a really long time to photograph everything and list everything, and then once it's purchased to ship everything. And considering how horrible I've felt this week, I just knew I wasn't going to be able to do that all in one week, so I'm dividing it up. This Friday, tomorrow, the 12th, at 3 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be listing all of the self-striping fingering weight yarns. Okay, so that will include inversibles and then all of the regular self-striping sock skeins that I have, and it'll include the leftover sock blanks. I had 5 sock blanks left over that did not sell at the show, so I'll be putting those in the shop tomorrow. Next week, next Friday, the 19th, at 10 a.m. Eastern, I will be putting all of the rest of the show leftovers in the shop. That'll be fiber, that'll be fingering weight gradients, that'll be mega, the bulky weight gradients, that'll be the worsted weight inversible sets, it'll be tonal and variegated, everything else. Everything that is not sock weight, self-striping, or sock blanks. Everything else will go up next week. But this week, it's going to be all that. I would say about 75% of the stuff is already up in the shop in preview mode. I've got a bunch of stuff, though, that I have to take pictures of today, and I'm going to do that as soon as I'm done recording and I get this processing. And then I can put the rest of those listings up in preview mode as well. I am not going to show you everything just because there's way too much, but like if you see that bin, well, you can't see the whole thing because my ironing board's in the way, that's full of self-striping. So there's a lot. But I am going to show you the inversibles because I've got those here. So I've got 2 inversible colorways on Bedazzled, so the black and silver and the spring water blue and silver. Those will be up. And then on Bounce, I've got light blue and lemon, turquoise blue and lime green. And then I've got raspberry and apricot and magenta and lime green. So those will all be up in the shop tomorrow. Self-striping, a lot of it is pretty much colorways you have seen before. There's some, you know, like I've got Fruit Loops, I think I've got Serial Killer, unless Serial Killer all sold, I don't remember. I've got the colors Happiness, and then I've got, those are all like the bigger stripe colorways, you know, 6, 8 stripes. And then I've got a lot of like 3 and 4 stripe colorways in there. You know, a lot of the ones you guys really like. So anyway, but the other one I wanted to point out because I have not dyed this for the shop yet. This is the last of the 6 stripe sock club colorways that I did last year for my club. And this was the one that was released last February, so I've dyed it up for the shop now this year. This is called 6 More Weeks. This was the one that I sent out in the February shipments in 2015. So I've got some of that on Bounce, and I think there's 1 skein on Bedazzled. This is the only Bedazzled skein. I realize this is not showing up sort of dark. Let me move my light. Maybe you can see it a little bit better. But it's 6 stripes, as the club denoted, and it's 6 more weeks. So these are colors that all represent things you can look forward to in the end of winter after the groundhog has said 6 more weeks. Although this year he said it'll be right around the corner. But, you know, things that we can look forward to that look towards spring. So this is a really happy, bright, fun spring colorway. So that will be in the shop. And then, okay, I got to turn that light. It's a little bright. Sock blanks. I'm just going to hold these up real quick. It's really hard to show these, and I have no idea how I'm going to photograph them really well. But I've got some non-sparkle sock blanks. So here's one. No sparkle. The non-sparkling, I'm calling these happenstance sock blanks. So there's either the happenstance sock blanks or there's the happenstance with sparkle sock blanks. The happenstance ones are 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 463 yards. Weird noises happening out in my other room. I'm not sure what the dog's doing. Anyway, Yeah, so that's the non-sparkle one. So this is one of them. Sorry, the colors do kind of line up if you fold them in half. So that's one. Let's see, where's another non-sparkly? This one has blues and yellows and greens. I love this one. I am so tempted to keep this for myself. And they've all got like little speckles and things going on in them. Somebody told me they almost look kind of like tie-dyed. They're not tie-dyed, but they kind of have that effect, and I love it. These are so much fun to dye. Definitely, I have more that I'm going to do for the show or for the shop. And then this one is a deeper, trying to get it in half here. It's got like cardinals and magentas and greens in it. So those are the ones without sparkle. And then I've got two with sparkle that were left. And this one has magentas and blues and purple and gray in it. So, and again, it's got little speckles all through, different colors. I can't wait to see how these get knit up. I really do. I just want to knit them all up. And then the last one, this one has blue, yellow, magenta, and purple. You know, it's not completely in half. There we go. So I tried to do them so that they do mirror each other, so you can knit one, and then you could, you know, if you wanted to do one cuff down, then the other one toe up, they would sort of be matchy. But if you don't care about that, I did not care about that with mine, then you don't have to worry about it. But anyway, so those are the sock blanks and the inversibles, and like I said, lots and lots of self-striping sock that will be in the update tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, along with the 16 spots that are available for the club yarn from Ashley and I. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. That's everything. My head is getting so stuffed up. I really need to stop talking, and I feel like my voice is going now. So I'm going to go, and I hope you have a good rest of your week. If you have any questions about anything I talked about, because I'm not entirely sure I was super clear on some things as I talked today, but you know, there will be the episode thread in the 90% knitting board. I did get show notes up last week, so I'll try to do that again this week. But anyway, just ask there, or text me, yeah. Message me, private message me on Ravelry or whatever if you need clarification on anything. So that's it. I'll talk to you later. Bye.